I remember the first time I realized I was trying too hard to be seen. It was a Tuesday. Nothing extraordinary. I had spent days preparing for a presentation that, in the end, no one really paid attention to. The room was full of distracted glances, side conversations, people more interested in their phones than the work I had poured my heart into. I smiled through it, made my way to my car, and cried behind the steering wheel like I was 13 again, the day my best friend decided I wasn't cool enough anymore. If this message stirs something real in you, that quiet knowing, that brave ache, then like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Let's keep showing up for the truth together. I used to think caring deeply meant I had to prove it, that I had to show up louder, try harder, overextend myself, just to make sure people knew I was all in. If I loved you, I would bend until I broke. If I believed in something, I'd shout it from the rooftops, even if my voice cracked under the strain. And if I wanted to be respected, I thought I had to keep giving until I was empty. But there's a kind of heartbreak that comes from realizing that the more loudly you care, the less people seem to hear you. It's like screaming into the void, all echo, no answer. You pour yourself into spaces, into people, into projects, and what you get in return is silence. A shrug, a side glance, a half smile, and a distracted nod. It's a devastating kind of loneliness, the kind that doesn't come from being alone, but from being unseen while you're wide open. That's when I started to learn a truth that hurt at first, but later became my salvation. Just because you care doesn't mean you have to prove it with your blood. Just because you feel deeply doesn't mean you have to hand people the key to your soul. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is care quietly, to protect your energy, to honor your effort, and to stop chasing the idea that your love and effort are only valuable if they're loud and visible. You don't have to explain the depth of your intentions to everyone. You don't have to narrate your healing or your hustle. You don't owe the world your inner workings in exchange for basic respect. Caring quietly doesn't mean you've stopped feeling. It means you've started prioritizing. It means you're finally choosing where to place your heart. It means you've decided that not everyone deserves to witness your vulnerability like it's a free show. Some people need to earn that access. Some people, honestly, need to lose it. There's dignity in discretion. There's power in stillness. And there's something sacred about doing the work, the healing, the building, the becoming, without making a spectacle of it. Not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the need to be seen to feel significant. So if you've ever been told that you're too quiet, too calm, too mysterious, maybe it's not a flaw. Maybe it's your wisdom showing. Maybe it's you finally learning to care in a way that doesn't cost you everything. I learned the hard way that when you wear your heart on your sleeve, there are people who will see that as an invitation, not to honor it, but to exploit it. And it's not because you're weak. It's not because you did something wrong. It's simply because not everyone knows what to do with tenderness. Some people only understand power when it's packaged as silence and distance. There was a time when I believed that transparency equaled trust, that the more I shared, the more someone would understand me, see me, choose me. I would open up too quickly, confide too deeply, and hand over parts of myself that I hadn't even fully understood yet, hoping someone else would hold them with care. But I learned that not everyone you trust with your truth knows how to carry it. Some will fumble it, some will judge it, some, and this is the hardest to accept, will use it. Turn your openness into a strategy for control, turn your honesty into a weapon. And suddenly, your greatest act of courage, letting someone in, becomes the very thing that leaves you bleeding. That's when I discovered something so freeing, it changed the way I moved in the world. People can't weaponize what they don't see. It's not about becoming cold. It's not about building walls around your heart. It's about cultivating discernment, emotional boundaries, the kind that doesn't block connection, but filters for safety. The kind that says, I'm not hiding, I'm choosing. And once you start moving this way with quiet clarity and calm confidence, You stop bleeding for people who never intended to stop the wound. It's not a performance anymore. You don't feel compelled to show them your process, your dreams, your doubts, just so they take you seriously. You start letting your work speak for you, your actions, your alignment. The way you show up consistently for yourself, even when no one's clapping. The way you show up consistently for yourself, even when no one's clapping. Even when no one's clapping. Even when no one's clapping. It's so easy to just show up and be seen and live it and breathe it and be who you are. And then all of a sudden, it's not worth it. And so when you let your work speak for yourself, even when, and ironically, beautifully, that's when people start noticing. Because there's something powerful about a person who is grounded in themselves. Someone who's not trying to prove anything, but is becoming everything. Someone who knows when to stay silent, not out of fear, but because they understand timing, trust, and truth. When you stop broadcasting every move, when you let your silence mature your growth, you begin to move in ways that people can't predict, and more importantly, they can't control. They think you're quiet? Good. They think you're done? Even better. They don't see you coming? Perfect. We live in a culture that often confuses detachment with bitterness. The moment you start pulling back, the moment you stop responding immediately, the moment you stop giving away pieces of yourself like candy, people start whispering, "Oh, they've changed." And you know what? They're right. You have changed. You've grown. You've woken up. You've learned to value your peace more than your need to be liked. But let's be honest. The journey to detachment isn't easy. It doesn't happen overnight. It usually begins with heartbreak, with disappointment, with that one moment, maybe you've had it, when you sit there thinking, how did I let it get this far? How did I let someone have this much control over how I feel, how I move, how I see myself? I remember a time in my life when I gave someone everything. My energy, my time, my heart, my loyalty, only to realize I was holding up an entire relationship by myself. It felt like standing in a house I'd built with my own hands, only to look around one day and realize no one else had even shown up with a hammer. I was exhausted, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, soul deep tired. And the worst part? I thought walking away made me selfish. I thought setting boundaries made me cold. But here's the truth that finally cracked open my healing. Detachment is not revenge. It's self-respect. It's not about being cruel or indifferent. It's not about ignoring people out of spite. It's about finally choosing yourself over the version of you that was always performing, always pleasing, always proving. It's about realizing that peace is not just a pretty word, it's a non-negotiable. And the cost of chasing validation is just too high when it comes at the expense of your well-being. When you begin to detach, you don't become heartless, you become selective. You become aware. You start to see where your energy leaks, who leaves you drained, what environments steal your joy. And you don't respond with anger. You respond with space, with silence, with stillness. You don't slam doors. You close them gently and lock them with love for yourself. Some people won't understand that kind of growth. They'll call you distant. They'll accuse you of being cold. But don't let that distract you. The ones who truly love you will celebrate your boundaries because they'll know what it took to build them. You see, detachment isn't about disconnecting from life. It's about reconnecting with your inner world so deeply that no one else gets to disturb the calm waters you worked so hard to find. It's choosing not to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. It's realizing that the silence you feared is actually your sanctuary. that your solitude isn't emptiness, it's evidence that you no longer require noise to feel whole. So no, you're not cold, you're clear, you're not distant, you're discerning, you're not heartless, you're healing. And healing, real healing, demands space. It demands that you stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. It asks you to rest your tired soul, to protect your energy like the sacred flame it is. Detachment is an act of self-devotion. It says, I love me enough to walk away from anything that confuses that truth. There's this subtle shift that happens when you stop trying to be seen, and instead, you begin to see yourself, really see yourself, not through the lens of who disappointed you, not through the voice of who overlooked you, but through the quiet knowing that your worth never needed an audience in the first place. I remember when I finally stopped chasing, not just people, but approval, recognition, permission. And the more and more I did this work, the more vulnerable, recognition. It was a strange feeling at first, a mix of freedom and fear, because for so long, the chasing felt like movement. It gave me something to do, something to hope for, something to distract me from the deeper truth that I didn't yet believe I was enough without someone else saying it out loud. But the chasing, it's exhausting, isn't it? You chase praise at work and you feel empty by Monday. You chase love that never returns the same depth and you wonder why your heart feels bankrupt. You chase perfection and all you ever seem to find is a moving target. The chase never fulfills you, it just keeps you distracted from your own power. And then one day you stop. Maybe not on purpose. Maybe you're just too tired. Or maybe, finally, you're ready. That's when the real magic begins. Because when you stop chasing, you start creating. And not just things, not just content or careers or big plans. You start creating a version of you that is rooted, grounded, centered in truth, not performance. You start building the life you once begged others to invite you into. You stop asking for a seat at the table and start crafting your own damn table, one choice at a time. You get quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because you understand not everyone deserves to hear your becoming in real time. You stop giving play-by-plays of your healing. You let the results speak. You start rising in silence, evolving without announcement. And it's in that stillness that your true power finds you. You become more deliberate with your time. You no longer say yes just to avoid discomfort. You stop showing up for people who never notice when you're gone. You're not bitter, you're focused. You're not rude, you're aligned. You're not passive, you're just done performing for love that should have been offered freely. And it confuses people. It really does. They're used to the version of you who tried so hard, who over-explained, who overextended, who reached out one more time just to keep the peace. Now, you're walking different. You're choosing peace over performance, solitude over shallow connection, purpose over people-pleasing. And the irony is, now that you've stopped chasing them, they start watching you. But here's the thing. You're no longer doing it for them. Your peace is your reward now. Your growth is your applause. Your wholeness is your destination. They won't see you coming, not because you've hidden yourself, but because they never bothered to look deeper in the first place. They were distracted by your noise, and now they're stunned by your quiet. While they were waiting for the version of you that begged, you were becoming the version of you that builds. So let them wonder, let them talk, let them feel your absence. Here's the truth most people won't say out loud. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will happen in silence, far away from the eyes of the world. And that's not a punishment. It's a sacred invitation. An invitation to come home to yourself. An invitation to rediscover who you are. Without the noise, without the opinions, without the pressure to prove anything to anyone. When you stop performing, when you learn to act like you don't care, not because you've shut down emotionally, but because you've stopped leaking your energy into places that don't honor it, something begins to shift deep inside you. You move from survival to sovereignty, from scrambling to rootedness, from needing to be chosen to knowing you already are, by yourself. You stop throwing lifelines to people who let go of the rope a long time ago. You stop over-apologizing for being too much or not enough. You stop bending your soul into shapes just to fit into rooms that were never built for your truth. Instead, you become your own sanctuary, and from that sacred space, you begin to move differently. There's a quiet kind of power that forms when you stop begging to be seen and simply become undeniable. It's not about arrogance, it's about alignment. It becomes so amazing to hear Meredith describe being absent as about being broken, but not being broken. It's about being broken. It's about alignment. It's about doing the work behind the scenes, healing the old wounds, rewriting the stories you inherited from pain, rebuilding your boundaries, your values, your voice, and slowly, without making a sound, you begin to rise. People won't know what you're working on. They won't see the nights you wrestled your shame into silence, the mornings you showed up even when it hurt, the discipline it took to not react, not lash out, not defend your value to people who were committed to misunderstanding it. They won't see it, and they don't have to, because this isn't about them anymore. You've moved from desperation to discernment. And now, you walk into rooms with a calm so steady it unsettles people. You don't need to announce your worth. It radiates through the way you carry yourself, through the peace in your eyes, through the boundaries you enforce without apology. And yes, some will be confused. Some will say you've changed, and you have. You've grown into a version of yourself that no longer seeks validation from the very people who made you question your value in the first place. You've learned that strength isn't always loud, that grace can be fierce, that love for yourself can look like walking away and never looking back. You've learned to act like you don't care, not out of spite, but out of clarity. Because now you understand, caring deeply doesn't mean you have to carry everyone. Loving boldly doesn't mean you have to abandon yourself. You don't wear your heart on your sleeve anymore, not because you're hiding, but because you've learned that some parts of you are sacred, and sacred things deserve protection, not performance. So here's your call to action. Soft but strong. Let them think you've gone quiet. Let them wonder where your energy went. Let them try to figure out what changed. Because while they're busy trying to make sense of your silence, you're building, you're healing, you're becoming. They won't see you coming, and that's exactly the point. Maybe you've been carrying the weight of trying to matter to people who never had the capacity to hold you. Maybe you've confused silence for defeat, or thought protecting your peace was petty. Let this be the moment you reclaim it all. You don't have to yell to be heard. You don't have to fight to be seen. You don't have to chase to be chosen. You are allowed to move quietly, grow privately, and bloom unapologetically. And when you finally arrive, they won't see you coming, but you'll see yourself fully for the very first time. Now breathe that in. Let it settle. And when you're ready, not for them, not for applause, but for you, start walking.